Good day, everybody. My name is Derah, and I'm a product manager on the Copilot Studio team. I was here last Tuesday, and it's a pleasure to be back here again. Today, we're going to be talking about intelligent or AI approvals in Copilot Studio. This is my LinkedIn as well. Feel free to reach out and ask questions or see how we can enable this product in your company. So first, we now have AI approvals in public preview. So a couple of months ago, actually last month in September, we announced the public preview of AI approvals. So you can check out our blog here on the left, and you can check out the documentation on the right. And please do get started in using it. Of course, later in this session, I'll have a demo. Feel free to open your laptops or a separate screen and follow along when we get to that portion. But first, what are AI approvals? AI approvals are intelligent decision-making steps that are built into multi-stage approval workflows in Copilot Studio. So, in May, we also announced multi-stage approvals where if you're running a business process, you can have it run through multiple different stages or different stakeholders to get their approval. And then, based on those approval decisions, you can make decisions in your organization. But now with multi-stage approvals, instead of having every single approval go to a human stage where a human is making decisions, you can now have it go to an AI stage where at that point AI is making a decision. So this brings together human and AI collaboration. While building this, you spoke to a lot of chiefs of staffs or business admins at the company, and a lot of them are typically inundated with approval requests. But with AI approvals, you can offload some of those more mundane approval requests. So unlike traditional rule-based automation, AI approvals can analyze unstructured data, interpret complex documents, and apply nuanced logic. So you can automate decision making. You have flexible inputs like text, images, documents, knowledge sources. This slide is a bit outdated because now we support GPT-5 as well as GPT 4.1. You can also bring your own model, and then humans remain fully in control. You can always add what we call manual or human stages, and those stages are where humans can make decisions and veto. So you're not if you decide not to leave it to the AI system to handle the approval alone, you can always involve humans. And like the last session I did last Tuesday on human in the loop, this is where human in the loop comes in a lot. So here's the UX for the AI approvals. You can simply provide your prompt or your logic. You can provide documents, text, images, and knowledge. And when you test this, the AI would give you an approval decision. We have 3 approval decisions: approved, reject, or a failure mode. And then whenever any of these results are reached, we give a rationale. So the AI also outputs a rationale so you can understand why it's making that decision. With the advent of reasoning models, this feature becomes a lot more powerful because sometimes approvals may take nuanced logic if they're not just the mundane tasks. Now, if you're familiar with prompt builder or AI prompts, you will see that the UX is actually pretty similar. And that's because we worked closely with the prompt builder team to integrate their current experience to build AI approvals. So it's a beautiful union between multi-stage approvals and prompt builder to create AI approvals. So it's the same goodness that prompt builder gets with analyzing documents and knowledge and selecting the models, we also get in AI approvals. Now, what are some benefits of AI approvals? The first one, of course, is time savings. I was telling you, of course, that in building this, spoke to a lot of chiefs of staff, and it's shocking. It's really shocking to see how much time is spent approving like menial or tiny expenses, right? Maybe for the larger amounts, humans, of course, need that more nuanced logic to come in, but they're very, very sometimes mundane approvals that people have to focus on, right? And if we can save time for employees, then we can help them focus their time on higher value tasks or higher value work. And that goes to the second point here. And then finally, is cost savings. we see that approving simple invoices or approving simple expenses takes a lot of time. And in business, if you're able to, get invoices out early and all these different approvals out relatively early, sometimes you can get discounts or you can avoid late fees. So instead of taking weeks to handle an approval, an AI approval can handle actually the approval in a matter of seconds. And then finally, reduced errors. If you're having different people approve decisions without clear criteria, oftentimes those different people may make different decisions. But if your logic, your criteria, your instructions to the AI are specific, and that AI can follow those instructions all the time, you would reduce the errors because you're getting consistent results over and over again with the AI system making approvals. Now, I know that some users may not always be comfortable with using AI for approvals, but I'll encourage you to go and try this out for some parts of your simple business process, run your evaluations, see how well it's performing, and then gradually begin to increase the usage of the product. But with that, we'll now dive into a very exciting demo. I know it's exciting. I hope you find it exciting as well. So I'm going to stop sharing and then reshare another screen, and we can get started. Just make sure it's the right one. All right. So we are in Copilot Studio. I'll go to the homepage of Copilot Studio, and to show you end to end where to get this. You can, like I said, feel free to follow along if you like to do it right now, but if not, catch up later. But you come here to flows, and in here you see a list of your agent flows. So flows are, if you don't know, flows are automations or AI automations that you can build. You can attach those to your agents, and you can actually run those standalone. And this feature is inside of the flow, right? You can build this inside of the flow. So when you build this in the flow, you can also attach it to your agent, and your agent can use this at runtime. So I'm first going to build a very, simple, very simple flow that isn't really going to do much, just to show you the capability. And then we'll go into an actual scenario. We built a flow last week, Tuesday, and I'm going to build on top of that flow for you to see how AI approvals can be used in action. So I'm going to just set up a manual trigger just so I can open up the next action. Why is it not letting me click? Okay, perfect. So now after setting up the manual trigger, now I can add the AI approval. So remember last week we covered request for information. Now the sister or brother to request for information is run a multi-stage approval. Like I mentioned, the AI approvals is inside of multi-stage approvals. So when I set this up, I'm able here to start setting up my approval workflow. I can either start with a manual stage. This is what I was talking about, where the approval goes to a human to make a decision, or I can start with an AI stage. So let's start with an AI stage. And in here, just like the UI I showed you in the slide deck, we can begin to configure our AI stage where the AI would make an approval decision. So you can type in a prompt. We have some guidance here on how to write your prompt. You want to be very specific. You want to avoid giving it conflicting information. So let's just start with something very, very simple and has no business consequence. I'll just say approve if 2 equals to 2. Right here, you can see I can select my model, right? I can select GPT-4.1 as basic all the way to O3 premium and GPT-5 reasoning. So in this case, just for the sake of speed, I'm going to go with GPT-4.1. And look at that. We've been able to get an approval decision. It said approved, and the condition, and it gives us the reason. The condition specified in the instructions is approve if 2 equals to 2. Since 2 is equal to 2, the condition is met and the approval is granted. All right, let's try something else. Approve if 2 equals to 3. Awesome. And once again, we get another approval decision. So it's as simple as writing a prompt to get a decision. And as expected, we got rejected. And now remember, I told you there's another state of approvals, and that's the failure mode. Now, sometimes when you're writing these prompts, you can give conflicting information. For example, you could say approve if the amount is less than 500. But then in the same prompt, you can write approve if the amount is greater than, or approve if the amount is say less than 500, and then approve if it is greater than, or reject if it's greater than 300. If the amount is 400, those two criteria conflict. So the AI is not, it's not going to be able to make a correct decision on that. So it's going to have a failure mode. Similarly, for things that are a bit subjective, it's not going to, it's going to give a failure mode. So let's give something is really subjective. I'll say approve if Versa is the best. Now, I'm sure all of us on the call know that this should really be approved because we know Versa, but we don't. The AI doesn't know that. So you can see right here that it's given a failure mode. Instructions fail to produce a proper approval decision because the approval of Versa is the best is ambiguous and subjective. So you want to make sure that your prompts are specific, structured, and then in here as well, whenever it fails, we've given you a link to check out best practices for the prompts in our documentation. So this shows you how to write all your prompts correctly. You will also notice down here that we have next steps based on decision. And here we're building an entire multi-stage approval workflow. So I can always add other stages. I can add a manual stage. So in here, in a manual stage, I can send it to a human. So I can specify in here the human it's going to go to and provide all the details. And if I come back to the AI stage, I can say, okay, if the AI approves, I still want it to go to the manual stage. Or if the AI rejects, I still want it to go to the manual stage or just end it as rejected. And if it fails, I could ask it to go to the manual stage or approved or rejected. And you can build multiple different stages in here. So you can build multiple different AI stages that handle different things. One use case we've seen is that sometimes the AI would be the first gate, check if there's any fraud or any issues. And if there isn't, if it approves, the process continues. If it's rejected, it's rejected. So you can build really, complex approval workflows here and send it to different stages based on the decisions, right? And like I said, the humans remain in control. So even if the AI makes a decision and you kick it to another stage where a human's at, that human has the power to veto the decision. Humans remain in control. Now, we showed a simple, just a simple non-business critical approval. Now let's look at this in context of a real business process. So remember that we last week, if you haven't caught up on that recording, feel free to go back. We discussed the request for information action. So we have here a flow that is called by an agent. This is a device request flow. So if an employee is requesting a device, if the amount is greater than a particular, if the device costs greater than a particular amount, we check that needs a manager approval or manager input. We send a request to the manager to get that input. And then based on all the information that's provided, now we've built in here an approval, we've built in here a device approval. So let's look at what this device approval contains. Awesome. So you can see that this prompt now is a bit more complex than the last one. We've said, first of all, we've asked the AI to check if if it needs manager input. Now, if it needs manager input, we're telling it to follow these criteria. But if it doesn't need manager input, it should just look at the employee business justification and look at the justifications document. Now, if it does need manager's inputs, we're asking it to follow this criteria. So in here, this is just a testing phase. And after we build this and we go outside to the rest of the flow, we can now begin to map these inputs to the right places. So in here, I've said that needs manager input is yes. The employee business justification is required for client contract. Let's say required for large government contract. And I'm telling it to approve if it is similar to an appropriate justification written in this document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload a document from my device. And you can see this is a real life document. Let me zoom out a little bit. This is a real life document. So the AI is going to reason over this document and make an approval decision. And then when we test, it's going to come back with a decision, right? So it's first said the device. So remember, we said the needs manager input is yes. So it's going to go down here and look, okay, it's going to then think and reject if any of these criteria is met. And in here, it said the vendor quote, we've listed it as $3,400, is exceeds $2,000. So it requires a rejection. So you can see that with a prompt, no matter how simple, no matter how complex, you can build approvals with AI that when the flow or the automation runs, the AI can handle decision making. All right, let's now save this. I'll just cancel. And then now in the flow, let's test this and see this in action. So I'm going to run the flow manually. I've actually run it in the past, so I'm just going to use a test run. And we're going to see that when all that information, the context is passed into the flow, the flow is going to run. So it's now at this needs manager input step. Because no manager input is needed, it's skipped. It's now coming to the AI approval. And look at that. We see it took relatively 0 seconds to have this approved. And we see the outcome here. We see the final outcome. We see the condition. Okay, because the decision is approved, we're going to send the approval email to the requester. Now, one thing we're building in, like now, we've actually is rolling out, is we want a way to be able to consume all the outputs of this multi-stage approval. So every single decision the AI made and all the rationale, everything, and consume it, and you can store it anywhere you want. In the meantime, however, if you go to Power Automate in the AI Builder activity, you can actually see, let me refresh, you can actually see the run of that AI approval. So you can see here that these are the inputs that we provided. Remember, we typed in this text, essential for very important government contract, all these different things. And then the output was approved, and the rationale was this: the request does not require manager input. The employee's business justification for important government contract aligns with business justification. So in a matter of seconds, this has come in, it's been approved, and people can go about their day running their business processes, and everybody can save time, save costs, and have more accurate decision making in their agents and automations. That's AI approvals. Go check it out. Thank you.